Hello watch fans, Berthier Watches here, and this time for you we have a 1952 Rolex Oyster Royal, one of the most un-Rolex Rolexes you're going to find with an oyster case. So let's get the first obvious bit out of the way. The dial has some staining and it also has some fading to the word Rolex Oyster Royal. At least it's original. You've got the choice, do you go over restored and lose much of this fine detailing, the stripes, the radial lines, the dots? Would you lose a lot of that if you had it repainted? I think you would. So it's an original dial with some condition issues, but the watch is from 1952. So that's the bad bit. The good bit, it's a stainless steel oyster case. So that's screw down, that was watertight, and this is particularly interesting. I'm just going to focus in. Super Oyster Rolex. So why is that interesting? Well, on vintage Rolexes, one of the first things you check is the threads to make sure that when you screw the crown down, they're not tight, they're not snaggy, not on the very last 1 or 3 degrees to get it to screw down. But in the early 50s, Rolex came up with this design, which has no threads. They only used it for a few years. The rumour is, not that Rolex would ever admit this, but it wasn't as good as the screw down thread. It wasn't being waterproof. That's not important because this is a 70-year-old watch. It's not going to be waterproof anyway. Not without double checking everything and changing every seal and all the rest. So now it's actually more convenient, and you won't have the problem checking that you're having to replace the tube and crown. Those crowns are quite valuable on their own because you're not going to find many. It's all running nicely. Hand wind movement. It's on the smaller side at 32mm case. Remember, at this point in time, the Air King was king size at 34mm. So this was normal for the time, but feels a little smaller now. But this is a cheap way of getting a Rolex Oyster. Well, no Rolex is cheap. It's an affordable. It's more affordable than buying one that is maybe 34mm. It did probably have a bracelet on because you can see some witness marks at the back where the bracelet lugs sat. But other than that, there are knocks. It hasn't been polished. It's what I like to find as genuine. It's not been messed around with. Drilled lugs on one side only. Good smart move. And there we go. Not a Rolex you're going to see every day. If you are after a 1950s stainless steel watch with a screw down case back, but maybe not want to stretch to a Rolex right now, this one's coming in a few days. Different brand, different price, but just to let you know. Keep your eyes open for that. Thanks very much for watching. See you again next time.